Imagine this scenario. You're driving along the highway and suddenly you see flashing lights behind you. You pull over and after a brief conversation, the police officer asks if they can search your car. What do? Do you have to say yes? What happens if you say no? In this video, we're going to answer these questions in detail. Whether you're a Texas citizen or a police officer, this is critical information you need to know. We'll explain not only the rights you have as a driver, but also the responsibilities of law enforcement officers when it comes to vehicle searches in Texas. Understanding the law can make a huge difference in how these interactions play out. We're about to dive deep into Texas search laws, probable cause, and what refusing a search really means. By the end of this video, you'll not only know your rights, but you'll also feel empowered to exercise them calmly and confidently. Stick around, and let's make sure you're prepared for whatever might happen on the road. Let's start with the foundation of your rights, the Fourth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. It protects you from unreasonable searches and seizures. In other words, the police cannot search your car, or your home for that matter, without a good reason or probable cause. But what exactly does probable cause mean? In simple terms, it means the police must have a reasonable belief that you are involved in a crime before they can search your car. They can't search just because they feel like it or because they're curious. There must be something specific that makes them think you've committed or are about to commit a crime. Now, what about Texas law? Texas law follows the same guidelines as the Fourth Amendment, but adds some nuances specific to the state. Here's what you need to know. Without your consent, the officer cannot search your vehicle unless they have probable cause, a warrant, or if you've been arrested. Your refusal to allow a search is not enough to give the officer probable cause. Refusing a search doesn't mean you're guilty of anything. It simply means you're exercising your legal right. However, be aware that there are exceptions. For example, if something illegal is in plain view, like a weapon or drugs on your seat, then the officer may have probable cause to search without your consent. So, when can an officer legally search your car without your permission? It's important to understand the different ways a search can happen. Consent-based search. The easiest way for an officer to search your car is with your consent. They'll ask you, "Do you mind if I take a look inside?" If you say yes, that's it, they can search. But remember, you are not required to give consent. You can politely say, "I do not consent to a search." And that's perfectly within your rights. You don't need to give a reason, and the officer cannot use your refusal as probable cause to search. Probable cause search. As we mentioned earlier, if the officer has a specific reason to believe you're involved in a crime, they can search your car without your consent. This could be based on what they see, hear, or even smell. For example, if the officer smells marijuana or sees open alcohol containers, that could give them probable cause to search your car for evidence of a crime. Remember, this must be something specific and reasonable. Just having a hunch isn't enough. Search incident to arrest. If you are arrested during a traffic stop, the officer has the right to search your vehicle without your consent. This is called a search incident to arrest, and it's done to ensure officer safety and to look for evidence related to the arrest. Even if the arrest is for something minor, like an outstanding traffic warrant, the officer can search your car. However, this search is usually limited to the area within reach of the person being arrested. For example, the front seats and glove compartment. Inventory search. If your car is impounded, meaning it's towed away after you're arrested or because it's illegally parked, the police are allowed to do an inventory search of the car. This is to document everything in the vehicle and to protect the police from accusations of theft. An inventory search is not the same as a criminal search, but if the officer finds illegal items while conducting the inventory, that evidence can be used against you in court. Now let's get to the heart of the matter. What happens when you say no to a car search? The key here is to remain calm, polite, and clear in your response. You can simply say, "I do not consent to a search," and the officer should respect that. But what happens next? Here are some common outcomes. The officer respects your refusal. In many cases, the officer will respect your refusal, complete the traffic stop, and either issue a ticket or warning, or let you go with a verbal reminder. Remember, you have the right to say no, and many officers will acknowledge that right and move on. the officer attempts to coerce you. Sometimes an officer may ask repeatedly or imply that refusing the search will look bad for you. This is a tactic to get you to consent, but remember, you are not required to change your answer. Stay polite and firm. Repeatedly asking for consent without a valid reason is not legal justification for a search. If the officer says something like, "If you don't have anything to hide, why not let me search?" Don't feel pressured to agree. It's your right to say no, even if it seems uncomfortable. The officer claims to have probable cause. If the officer says they have probable cause, they may proceed with a search even without your consent. They'll need to explain what led them to believe you're involved in a crime, such as the smell of drugs, visible contraband, or suspicious behavior. It's important to note that you should not resist a search if the officer insists. Resisting could escalate the situation and you could be arrested for interfering with law enforcement. However, you can still calmly say, "I do not consent to this search," and this could help you legally later if you need to challenge the search in court. The officer calls for a K-9 unit. If the officer doesn't have enough probable cause but is still suspicious, they may call a K-9 unit to sniff around your vehicle. A dog alert can sometimes give the officer the probable cause needed to conduct a search. However, there's a catch. The officer cannot detain you indefinitely while waiting for a K-9 unit. They need to complete the traffic stop in a reasonable amount of time. If they drag out the stop for too long, it could be seen as unlawful detention, and anything found during a delayed search might be inadmissible in court. Now let's take a moment to talk directly to the law enforcement officers who might be watching this. Officers, understanding and respecting the rights of citizens during a traffic stop is just as important as enforcing the law. The way you handle a refusal to search can significantly impact public trust, not only in you, but in law enforcement as a whole. Here are some key things to keep in mind. Remain professional and calm when a driver refuses a search. A refusal is not an admission of guilt, it's a citizen exercising their constitutional right. Be clear and articulate about any probable cause you believe exists. This not only protects you legally, but also ensures that any evidence collected is more likely to hold up in court. Documentation is key. Always document your reasons for searching a vehicle without consent, especially if the search is based on probable cause or a K-9 alert. Proper documentation can prevent misunderstandings and legal challenges later on. Educate, don't escalate. When citizens understand their rights, they're less likely to react with hostility or fear. Taking a moment to explain the legal basis for your actions can go a long way in building community trust. Why does all of this matter? Because knowledge is power. As a Texas driver, knowing your rights during a traffic stop could protect you from illegal searches, wrongful arrests, or even unnecessary legal battles. It also helps keep interactions with law enforcement safe and civil. Let's face it, many of us are nervous during traffic stops, and that's understandable. But understanding the law, knowing when you can say no and how to handle that situation, gives you the confidence to protect yourself legally without escalating the situation. This isn't about being difficult with the police, it's about knowing and exercising your rights. And that benefits everyone, including law enforcement, by keeping encounters professional and peaceful. So let's recap. If a police officer asks to search your car in Texas and you say, "No, it's your legal right," you're protected under the Fourth Amendment, and refusing a search does not give the officer probable cause on its own. However, there are situations where the officer may still conduct a search, such as if they have probable cause or arrest you. The key takeaway? Stay calm, be polite, and know your rights. A simple refusal can go a long way in protecting your privacy, but it's essential to understand what could happen next. Do you think more people need to know this information? Share this video with your friends, family, and anyone who drives in Texas. Help them understand their rights too. And remember, if you like this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and leave your thoughts in the comments. As always, this is for informational purposes only and not legal advice. Thanks for watching the Legal Gangsta Network. We'll see you next time.